Welcome to the Pro Bono Happy Hour. I'm Elise Dorita. Recently spoke to our summer interns about their experiences promoting pro bono and access to justice. This summer with their interns, Arlyn, Matti, and Nick has been a blast, and lucky for me I got to join them in all the fun. Our summer intern fun kicked off with the Pro Bono Award reception at Venable. The awards were inspiring and moving as we heard many attorneys about the amazing cases they worked on the past year. We thank Venable for their generosity and another amazing event. In June, as you all know, DC made history and the Capitals won the Stanley Cup. In case you didn't know, the PBI offices moved in October to Metro Center, and with a prime location, the interns got a possibly once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and had a glimpse of the celebration. We aren't quite sure if we actually spotted OV, but I know it was an event to remember that could have only happened by coming to DC. Later that month, we had a special guest and PBI alumni Lauren Kulik come and visit us. Lauren talked to us about her career path and journey. Lauren answered a range of questions about navigating law school and the public interest legal field. Thank you, Lauren, for spending your precious time with us. Everything we learned was very thought-provoking and helpful. The following week's activity was a big hit. The interns, along with PBI staff, got the coveted opportunity to explore the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Just a short walk from PBI, we spent the day learning about the struggle, resilience, and amazing stories of African American history and culture. The trip was incredibly moving and inspiring. It's safe to say what we learned only further reinforced our commitment to access to justice. In July, we watched one of our favorite documentaries, Crime After Crime, that follows the work of two pro bono lawyers as they represent Debbie Piegler, a woman in prison for over a quarter century due to her connection to the murder of the man who abused her. As always, the interns found it inspiring and quite the tearjerker to see pro bono in action. If you're interested, the movie is available for screening on Amazon Prime. The next day, the Washington Council of Lawyers hosted an event at DLA Piper titled Perspectives on Poverty Law on the Bench, DC Superior Court. The panel included DC Superior Court Associates, Judge Robert Oken and Anita Hosey Herring, Magistrate Judge Noel Johnson, and Associate Judge Julie Becker. It was a wonderful experience being able to hear about all the hard work these judges are doing and the path they took to where they are now. I'm so glad I could tag along with Arlyn, Matti, and Nick on all of these experiences. We will truly miss their presence around the office and all the hard work they have done promoting access to justice. We are so grateful that they spent their summer with us. We hope you enjoy our conversation.
Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam.
Hi, Matti. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
To kick off, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I grew up in the DC area in Bethesda, and I went to St. Mary's College in Southern Maryland. And then after I graduated, I worked at a veterans disability law firm for 2 years, and I just finished my first year at American Law School.
Great. So why'd you decide to come to PBI?
Well, I interviewed with Rena, and I just loved speaking with her about PBI's mission, and after working at the Veterans Disability Law Firm, I knew I wanted to do something pro bono related in my career, but maybe not necessarily only with veterans. So I was really excited to learn about the pro bono efforts and what PBI does to help firms and corporations.
So what did you work on during your time here?
So my biggest project here has been to research the business case for pro bono, for the law firm pro bono project, and I've been creating a resource that focuses on the business value of pro bono work and how participating in pro bono is not just good for moral reasons, but also how having a strong pro bono program can actually be good for business as well. And part of my research that's been really interesting has been geared towards millennials because we're now the largest generation in the workforce. So it was interesting to see how law firms are having to adapt and accommodate to their needs. And when I first got here, I did a little bit of research on some of the NALP and Vault compiling data about some of the signatory firms.
That millennial fact makes me feel old. So what did you learn about pro bono and access to justice?
I think what I learned here that was really interesting was about CPBO's projects, and I guess I just didn't really realize how corporations are involved in pro bono. I knew law firms were involved, but it was really cool to attend one of their clinics with Verizon and see how those work, so that was really interesting.
Awesome. So what are your plans for the rest of the summer? Well, what little is left.
Well, I have next week off, and I'm going to be actually finishing up my comment for law reviews, so that'll be really exciting. And then on-campus interviews start the week after that, but maybe like a beach trip on the weekend, but nothing too exciting.
Yeah, it sounds like you're busy. You actually don't have that much of a break.
Yeah, not at all.
But the beach sounds nice. So when you head back to law school in the fall, what are your plans?
Well, I'm on law review, so that will be a good chunk of time. And then I'm also going to be a Dean's Fellow for the legal writing program. So that'll be working with first-year students in their legal writing class and kind of being a mentor. So I'm excited to do that.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for working with us this summer.
No problem. It was great working with you guys.
Same old place, sweet home, Chicago.
Hi, Nick. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, yeah, of course.
So to get started, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I am a incoming junior at the University of Michigan, majoring in public policy and minoring in global history. I'm from right outside Chicago, Illinois, and this summer I have been in D.C. as part of the public service internship program. So I'm basically been living in the George Washington dorms with lots of other Michigan kids and enjoying the summer so far in D.C.
Great. So why did you decide to come to PBI?
I decided to come to PBI because I think that I want to go to law school at some point in my future, and I wanted to have an opportunity to learn more about various legal things. And I also think that pro bono work is extremely important because I know that a lot of people don't have adequate access to the legal assistance that they need. My mom is very active in pro bono matters at her law firm, so I've just kind of always known the importance of it, and I wanted to find out more about it. So PBI.
That's great. Can you tell us a little more about your time in the PSIP program?
Okay, so yeah, I've really enjoyed being in PSIP. We've had a lot of really cool opportunities. Like I've gotten to tour the White House. I've seen pretty much a lot of the various museums in D.C. I got to meet Senator Peters and Senator Stabenow from Michigan and do a Capitol tour and a lot of other really cool things.
I haven't even done the Capitol tour or the White House tour yet since I lived here.
Oh, they're great.
So what did you work on during your time here?
Yeah. So I've been working mainly for the corporate side of PBI. I wrote a blog post about how pro bono lawyers can help with election protection law, specifically enforcing voter rights, because I think that, especially with the midterms coming up, it's really important that all Americans have the right to vote, and there's a lot of restrictive laws being proposed that are potentially problematic for that and would cause millions of Americans who should be able to vote to not be able to, and I think that's a major problem. Also, I've been looking for state and federal reentry courts throughout the nation and compiling kind of like a database for future reference. I've been updating potential pro bono partner lists, specifically for Chicago and Illinois, which I thought was really cool because that's where I'm from, and I've been finding the number of registered in-house counsel per state.
Great. So through your work, what did you learn about pro bono and access to justice?
I learned that there's a lot more pro bono happening than I realized, which I think is fantastic. I didn't know that there was such a vibrant community of pro bono attorneys or people who want to do pro bono work among law firms, and I didn't realize what a big push there is and how kind of mainstream and what an important part of it is in the legal world today. So that's been great.
Great. So what are your plans for the rest of the summer?
I'm going home in like a week, and I'm pretty much just going to relax, sleep, not do too much, just kind of recalibrate for the school year.
Yeah, that's smart. It's probably going to get busy pretty quick. So when you head back to Michigan, what are your plans?
Doing lots of homework. No, I'm really excited to go back to school, see all of my friends, and I got seats in row 4 for football games this year, so that's going to be great.
Like season tickets?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
4, that's crazy. I've been to that stadium, and it is huge, and I think I left after like a half hour because everyone got tired, but that's fine. You won't have to leave because you're in great seats every day.
Yeah.
So great. Thank you for all the work you've done this summer, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Driving down the 101, California, here we come, right back where we started from, California.
Hi, Arlyn. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So to get started, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm from California. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I swam competitively my whole life. I ended up swimming at UCLA for 4 years, and then I took a year off to work at a plaintiff's firm in LA, and then I moved to Michigan and started law school, and I just finished 1 year.
Great. So I'm assuming that working in the legal field had something to do with this, but why'd you decide to come to PBI?
So I was really interested in working at a law firm next summer, so I kind of want to get that intro at PBI to how law firms operate and how they can perform more pro bono work. And I've also never been to DC, and PBI allowed me to do that, so that was awesome.
Yeah, pretty far from home.
Yes, definitely.
So what'd you work on during your time here?
So I had three primary projects. My first was I worked with a corporate pro bono project researching states' laws on multi-jurisdictional practice rules. So I figured out which states allow out-of-state transactional attorneys to perform pro bono work without taking that state's bar exam. I also helped with a project where I researched reforms on restoring driving privileges, since it's not uncommon for states to revoke or suspend licenses because of criminal convictions or failure to pay court fees, even though they have nothing to do with driving ability. And then my biggest project involved writing an article on how pro bono attorneys can help mitigate effects of the opioid crisis, because there are so many different repercussions and attorneys can provide legal aid in many different areas.
It's definitely a hot topic. We've talked about it a lot before, but it's exciting that we now have research on it. So what did you learn about pro bono and access to justice?
I definitely learned how nuanced the system can be, especially for transactional and out-of-state attorneys. I also realized how many opportunities there are out there for lawyers to become involved in various ways with different organizations, and how law firms in particular can use their resources to meet the critical needs of communities.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. A lot of times we talk about it on the podcast a lot that when people think about pro bono, they think about they call it the sexy issues, which sounds silly to say, but it's like death penalty and all that stuff. And there's just so many different needs out there. So it's great that you learned that. So what are your plans for the rest of the summer?
So I'm driving back to Michigan on Sunday, that long 8-hour drive, maybe 10. And I have OCI coming up in about a week, so I'll be doing a week of on-campus interviewing with a bunch of different firms, figuring out, which one I fit best with, and hopefully I'll be back here in DC because that's my primary target area. So that's pretty much the rest of the summer until I get back to school.
It's definitely great being a summer associate here. When I worked at a firm, I saw all the stuff that they got to do, and it was pretty exciting. And I did not know you were driving back because we were talking about driving yesterday, and that is really crazy to me, as you also learned yesterday, because where me and the producer are from, you can drive the state in an hour, so that is actually insane to me.
Right. Well, I'm from California, and northern and southern, it's about 6-hour drive, so I'm used to the 6, but anything over that is really tough for me, so the extra 2 hours, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah, my parents were like, anything over an hour and a half, that's an overnight trip, and they probably still feel that way. So when you head back to law school in the fall, what are your plans?
Same old thing. I have my usual set of classes. I'm also going to be on the Journal of Law Reform, so that's new. I'm also going to be a TA for an undergrad business class. So I'm adding a few things into the mix. I'm also helping start a pro bono project at school for survivors of sexual violence. So that'll be interesting to see if that takes off. A lot of different things coming up, but the same old law school.
That's great. It sounds like you're super busy. Well, thank you for all the work you've done this summer, and we've enjoyed having you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
New and archived episodes of the podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Please take a moment to leave an Apple Podcast review. It is quick and easy to do. We appreciate the feedback and would help us make it easier for other listeners to find the show and expand the conversation about pro bono and access to justice. We'd love to hear from you. Send your comments, feedback, and questions to probono@probonoinst.org. Looking forward to the PBI annual dinner? The dinner will be held at Gotham Hall in New York City on Thursday night, October 4th. More information can be found on our website, probonoinst.org, or call Danny Reed at 202-729-6691.